How's it going, everybody? How y'all doing today? First off, I just want to say I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas since Christmas was a few days ago, and I hope everyone has a Happy New Year, which is in the next coming days. If y'all got any cool plans, leave them down below. Anyways, to get to the point of the video, as you can probably see by the gameplay in the background, today's gonna be a little bit different. It's gonna be a For Honor video. I've done a couple of montages, which were really, really fun to do, and I enjoyed doing them and editing them. So I one thought maybe if I did more of that, since I want to branch out a little bit more on playing other things. So I thought it would be a good idea to do a video on the explanation of the game or the combat of the game and how it works. If you're interested in playing it yourself or you just want to understand the game a little bit better to know what's going on during my future videos on this game, because I know it'd be a bit complicated to try and understand what's going on if you don't know the mechanics of the game. So I'm gonna be breaking down the beginner parts of the game. I'm not gonna go too in depth. I'll wait for another video to go into more depth on things about the game. But I'm gonna break it down into three categories today. Number one being offense, number two being defense, and number three being like a little bit of beginner tips or uh some things to help you get started. So with that out of the way, let's get started. All right, let's talk about offense first. So, as you can see by my stance, I have 3 points of attack where I can do, which is top, left, and right. You will be using each side as you do your strings to confuse your opponent to try to get that hit. Because this game is all about mind games. It's all about mix and mind games. And what you're going to be attacking them with is your light attacks, which are your fast but non damaging or not high damaging attacks. Your heavy attacks, which are your slow but very high damaging attacks. Your bash attacks, which is just what you're going to integrate in your strings to get guaranteed attacks. Like most bashes will get you a guaranteed light afterwards, just for like a little bit of extra damage. And then your unblockable attacks, which is basically just regular heavy attacks met with certain conditions that give you the unblockable. The only other attacks you will probably use is the zone, which is sort of like your distance checker or reaction tester move. Warden's Zone, which is the character I'm playing as right now, just happens to be really, really good because it's fast. Kind of a little bit hard to react to if you're a beginner player. But it also goes into his unblockable heavy, so it meets those conditions. The only other attack you're probably going to be using is the guard break. This is the attack that, as it sounds, breaks your opponent's guard. Now, of course, the guard break can be teched with reaction, which is how you don't get guard break, because you don't want to get guard broken. If you get guard broken, they can land a free heavy attack on you. So it's literally just free damage. It's a free 24 damage from a heavy. And it also starts your chains as well, which allows you to get big damage. Another thing about offense, for your heavy attacks, you can feint them. This is how you activate mix. Because if you are in the middle of doing a heavy attack, you can get hit with a guard break. Meaning if you do something like this, you'll see most of the people go for unblockable attacks and then feint them into the guard break, because the only way to get rid of a the only way to get rid of an unblockable or to not get hit by it is to parry it. You can parry attacks in this game. Hence why we're going into defense. For defense, you can block basically anything. Lights on most characters, you will just deflect like that. They'll get like bounced off of you. They'll get bounced off of you a little bit, so they won't necessarily do damage. Heavies will do like chip damage. So you'll still take a tiny bit of damage. Like you can see on the right there, I take 5 damage from a chip damage heavy. But I take none when blocking a light. You cannot die from chip damage though, so don't worry about that. But you can parry attacks like that. To parry attack, you just press your heavy button as well. Since heavies are slower, they're a bit easier. Now you can also parry lights, but they're very, very difficult. The best way to practice is to just go into training mode like this and practice against that like that. You can tell you get a light parry when your screen like goes white like this. It makes it a bit more visual indicator. If you do parry a light, you get a free heavy. Sort of like a guard break. You get a free heavy, and it starts your chains. And you can do all that. Now, for Warden specifically, he has this crushing top light, where if they do a top move like that, and you press light, or they do a top heavy, top light, whatever, and you read it, and you press a light, his light becomes unblockable. And lands guaranteed. These are called crushing lights. Now, these are not on every character. These are on some characters. But I don't want to go too in-depth on character-specific things just yet. I'll save that for different videos. This is just a generic video so far. But yeah, when you parry, back to defense. When you parry, you basically go from defense to offense in like a split second, especially when you parry a light. Now, of course, parrying lights is difficult to do. They can be made on reads. Like, you can read somebody going for a light and you can parry it. Or, what I am good at is reaction parrying. So, like, you flick your right stick around like this to like change your stance, and you just happen to see them do red, you get the light parry. I'm more reaction based because I also play a lot of fighting games, so that's that method's better for me. But like I said, always, not always, like I said before, the game is heavily relying on, I wouldn't say heavily relying, but it's mainly around the right reads, mind games, and getting in your opponent's head, because you want them to think that you're going to do something when you're going to do something else. So the key is to mixing up your moves like this to say feint your unblockable into a guard break, and then the next time you do an unblockable, you do what's called letting it rock, meaning you don't feint it, because they might think you'll go for it again, and they won't try to parry. They'll expect the guard break, but that means they won't be trying to parry, and they'll end up getting hit by it. Now would be about the time to talk about the green bar below your health bar. So the blue bar is my health. You're always gonna have a blue bar. You can't change the colors on it. Orange will always be the enemy bar, health bar. So that is your health bar. In different game modes, you'll have more health based on armor and all that, but that's not relevant right now. But the green bar is the important one. That is your stamina bar. And every time you do a light, heavy, zone, it consumes stamina. And different moves consume a different amount of stamina. If you use all your stamina... I'm just going to get out of stam real quick. This is what happens. your stamina turns gray, and all your moves are slow as shit, making it super easy to parry. So your lights feel like heavies, and then your heavies feel like ultra slow heavies. The best thing to do when out of stam, I'm just gonna do it again, is to just play defense. That's the best thing you can do, because, I mean, you can't really attack or do anything. But being good at the game relies on stamina management. So if you do like a big combo like this, and you see you're running low on stam, it's okay to back off and play defense for a bit so you can let your stam come back. Yeah, you had a good offense, and then now you have to have a good defense. It's basically kind of like the same in fighting games. After you've had a good offense, it's okay to back up and play defense if needed, is what I'm trying to say. So now I guess we'll move on to the last special tips thing. Basically, all I can really say is make sure you feint your unblockables. Make sure you feint your unblockables, especially if you're an early player, because lots of people are going to see unblockables and going to want to parry it. So if you keep feigning them into guard breaks, then they're not gonna expect that. Higher level players will be expecting it, but starting out for lower level players, they're gonna want to parry it. So they're not gonna expect the feints and all that. And like I said before, there are specific characters that have more different attacks. But I won't go too depth in those. And every character is different. And like I said, some are easier than others. Warden is like the basic of basic characters for this game. You want an easy to learn character, easy to understand, simple tool set, simple toolkit. Warden's your guy. If you want to start off with a harder character, that's fine. There's no problem with that. There is absolutely zero problem with that if you wanted to. But as a recommendation, Warden would be your best guy. If you also wanted to try any other character in any of the other factions, the first character for that faction is usually the easiest for that faction. So you have Knights, you have Vikings, you have Samurai, you have Wulin, and then you have the Outlanders. Usually the Outlanders are the most complicated, so I would stay away from the Outlanders as of right now, because they're all weird. They're all weird, I'll say that. But I would stick to Knights, Vikings, and Samurai for right now. But you can just say screw that and not listen to me and just pick any character you want. That's totally fine. That's totally okay. It just means that you'll be starting at a higher learning curve, which can be both beneficial and horrible for you. Beneficial in the fact that if you learn a harder character first, the easier characters will be easy. But if you learn a hard character first, you might struggle with the game because it's a hard character. You get what I mean? But that about wraps it up for the basics of the game. I can go into more specific things, like there are different mechanics in the game, like soft feints, undodgeables, deflects, all of that. But I'll do that in a different video on an advanced guide. So real quick, if I just go here, there's this whole thing down here that means a whole bunch of stuff. I'll go into that later. I will go into that later. That'll be a whole separate video on that, because I don't want to confuse anybody. But with that probably leaves me to the end of this beginner guide. I will do an advanced one somewhere down the road. Hope you all enjoyed this one. Hope it helps. And I hope to see you on For Honor soon. Peace out.
You got me messed up.